Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest, engineer Mostafa Naggary from the Investment Authority. A very good afternoon to you, Engineer Naggary. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, sir. Today, the new mega project that we witnessed being inaugurated by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Egypt's future project for agricultural production, a very important and strategic project, really, all aimed to provide several agricultural products as well as, establish food security in Egypt. Could you tell us a bit about the importance of this project and how it is important in achieving a strategic food security as well as the provision of basic commodities that are needed in Egypt?
Thank you for the invitation, of course, for this introduction about this mega project today. Of course, all of us have seen this very impressive project which will lead Egypt to double the area planted and to double the production of the agri products. We know that we are, as a country, we have to import 70% of our food commodities, and this was a reason of the usual irrigation and the planting programs which was going into the country for the last 40, 50 years. We used the flood irrigation system, but now we have seen that the challenges of lack of water and the increasing demand of the big population of our country, also the international market situation with the crisis of the Russian-Ukrainian war, which will give us the chance to change our strategies in the plantation. So the new mega project is really leading to achieve the sufficiency limits of the main food commodities like wheat, like corn, sugar, rice, soya, oil. We have heard most of the ministers today, especially the Minister of Agriculture and the Food Supply, talking about the challenges which Egypt is facing according to the crisis of the international economical crisis and the war between Russia and Ukraine. So we have seen in this mega project a lot of, activities for both the government and the private sector to participate. So we have talked about sugar, for example, about expansion in the plantation of sugar beets, and also for the corn, about the big demand which Egypt will need, and of course the integration between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Poultry Production Union. It will open always the chances for those who are working in the dryer sector and in the grain accessories. So it is always linking, all sectors of the ministers and of the private sectors to work together. We heard a lot about research centers, about new seeds and new seedless programs to try to improve the productivity of each crop. We talk about the integration between many ministers, like the Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy, and also the Minister of Planning and Economical Development, and the Minister of the IT, of the Information Technologies. All will lead to have, as we say, a rational a strategy to produce more with a cheap cost.
Yes. Indeed. Engineer Mostafa, now this project extends over an area of 500,000 fidans along El Daba axis, located in the northwest direction of Egypt. And this is a very important site. This site was chosen for its geographical advantages, including its proximity, for example, and closeness to export ports, to airports, to industrial areas, as well as a number of main roads and axes to allow and facilitate the transfer of the produce and the agricultural products from the lands to, of course, all the parts of the country. How do you see the location of this specific agricultural mega national project?
As you said, that this project is spread in some governorates. His Excellency President Sisi pointed that they are doing, of course, new projects for greenhouses in El Fayoum, El Minya. These governorates are maybe the lesson economy level for the country. So they are increasing the chances for laborers and for workers to work. The logistics is not away from this project. We have also heard the talks about the irrigation network, which will be driven for 170 kilometers, either by open canals or by pipelines. So it's really linking another delta for Egypt, another way for living. I make all these projects not Egypt's future. It may be the planting the future for Egypt.
Yes.
Because really what is done now is trying to cover the demand, and everybody, as we've seen lately, is trying to protect himself mainly for the food safety and the food, as we say, protection for their people. So we have to do that for our people. On the other side, of course, there is a very big chances for exporters. We have seen that Egypt, the food industry, have reached more than $4 billion exports 2021, and for the agriculture crops exports, it was coming to $3 billion. So both of them are consisting something like 20% of the total exports, which I believe it will reach $40 billion by 2022.
Indeed. Engineer Mostafa, let's talk a bit about this project and how, there is the infrastructure and the administration of the project, which includes really a fully fledged integration system by the Egyptian government to do several things at the same time, like mechanize, for example, agriculture and irrigation, equip with the latest devices, techniques, the latest technological developments with regards to seeds and seedlings, all to allow high quality as well as speed in the production of these fruits and vegetables that are needed for, as you said, self-sufficiency of food products in Egypt. Tell me about how you see, the different establishments of the Egyptian government coming together, and we've seen different sectors coming together in order to provide for this specific project.
As we all know that there is a strategy for Egypt, which is 2030 and 2050. So these strategies are not far away of what we saw today. So we see that, let us say, the Ministry of Planning and the Economical Development was there. I mean, because it's a part of this strategy, it's the main part of this strategy. We have seen, of course, a cooperation between the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Irrigation to try to benefit from the availability of the water in Egypt. We have seen talks about recycling the water for this project. We have seen also intervention of the Ministry of Petrol, of the oil, and the power, because most of them are going to lead for the petrochemicals, which is a part of this project. So everybody is aware for this strategy and this mega project, and I think this project is really what we have been waiting for maybe 40, 50 years.
Indeed, indeed. Engineer Mostafa, now more than 90% of this area, can be cultivated, and we're talking about a total area of 2.2 million fadans cultivated by strategic crops like wheat, maize, beetroots like we saw today, etc. How important is this with regards to the strategic role of self-sufficiency of basic staples like these products?
As you know, that if we talk about the major food commodities, which is number one is the wheat. Egypt needs 1.125 million tons of wheat each month. And we need something like 850,000 tons of corn each month.
Yes.
And about 300,000 tons of white rice each month. So I am a part of the committee which is called the Sufficiency Food Commodity, which is reporting to the Prime Minister directly. And we are monitoring day by day the availability and the demand. And also we are monitoring the international prices and the supply chain. So that's why until this moment, we have seen no problem at the time being for any of these commodities. Maybe for the oil, as it was said, that it is really a big problem for Egypt because we are not planting crops which produce oil, but a part of this mega project today is concentrating on the soya and on the sunflower. So it is always linked to the strategy of 2050 to try to come to the sufficient good limits for the food of the Egyptians.
Indeed. And aside from self-sufficiency, Engineer Mostafa, there is a very important, other product from such a project, which is jobs, the creation of job opportunities, not just in the agricultural sector, but the industrial sector and other sectors all related to this specific mega national project as a by-outcome of, this project. How important is this outcome from the national mega project, job creation, a very important achievement as well by the Egyptian government?
As also it was said, that of course there is always a chances for connected sectors to each other. So if we talk about agriculture, we have to talk about the food processing sector. So it is always linked. There is nothing called at the moment a farm only. It should be linked to a logistic area. There should be back houses and all the stores. There should be factories. Even the strategy of the government at the moment for the warehouses and the silos and the cold stores. It is not only a cold store as before that you can store commodities and then take it out. No, you have to add value to these products which you will store. So you will store it as a raw material, let us say, but you have to deliver it out as a final product. So this at the end is the main strategy and the main goal of this project.
Indeed. Could you tell us a bit about some of the differences, for example, between this project and the other one, which is another mega project in Toshka's agricultural lands in the Upper Egyptian Governorate?
It is all linked. It is all one program. Some areas can be planted as an open area.
Right.
Some areas have to be through greenhouses. It depends about the cost of diverting the water and the logistics. So every area is having its specific program according to the outputs and the inputs, as said.
Indeed. And also we saw the President today commenting on the different irrigation methods for this large amount of land that they are trying to reclaim and build and plant as well. Spoke about groundwater, about irrigation systems, saying, we've got about 1,600 kilometers of center pivot irrigators, 9 power stations with a capacity of 250 megawatts along the 200-kilometer long internal power grid. This is all further development of the infrastructure in order to support such a project.
Correct. Correct. It is as everybody has seen today, and it was very clear that there is a full and complete integration between the ministries to help to, at the end, to come to the sufficiency limits which we are all talking about. So at the end, we feel that, as you know, that our water limits is declining, and the agriculture is using about 80% of all our water income. So what we are doing is that with this 80%, we have to produce more than 200% of the value of the each square meter of water.
Right. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Engineer Mostafa Naggary, economic expert. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your insight on today's episode of Cairo Local Time. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break, and we'll be right back for more. Do stay tuned.